Avatar. Big blue people fighting off the military to save their planet. When it comes to games based on movies, they can be very hit and miss. I played the 2009 and the 2023 games, and kinda surprised myself. I love the Far Cry series, and people were saying Frontiers of Pandora was just Far Cry with blue people. So I gave it a go. Then I remembered I had the 2009 Xbox 360 game in my collection, and wondered if it would hold up as either an Avatar game or a standard military shooter today. I knew they were vastly different games, from different periods in time, so it would be interesting to see how each one decided to represent the movie or incorporate it into the games. Avatar the game was released in 2009 on PS3, PC, Xbox 360, Wii, Nintendo DS, PSP, Apple and Android devices. Developed and published by Ubisoft Montreal, was a non-canon prequel to the 2009 movie. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora was released in 2023 on PS5, PC, and Xbox Series S and X. It was published by Ubisoft, but this time developed by Massive Entertainment, who'd worked on The Division 1 and 2 previously. Initially set 8 years before the events of the first movie. Then 16 years later, the game is partially tied to the movies, but can stand alone. I'll refer to the 2009 game as Avatar, and the 2023 game as Frontiers, so we don't all get too confused. Avatar was created as a third-person action shooter game, where our character, Ryder, arrives on Pandora to help fix equipment that's been damaged in the jungle. We end up rescuing Marines, helping other bases with issues, and fighting off the aggressive fauna of the planet. We get to try out our avatar and get a feel for running around. And while in this form, we witness the military destroying a village. We're given the choice of siding with the RDA and military, or the Na'vi. This choice was a surprise because I didn't even think we'd be given the option of siding with the RDA.
Don't make this messy.
The Na'vi could use you. It's now or never. We're 2 avatars against these guys. We can take them. Let's do it right now. Right now!
Time's up! Ryder, I order you to shoot Harper.
Listen to me, Ryder. We're 2 avatars. We can take out these troops.
I sided with the Na'vi, and though we have more limited range weapons, we have a melee advantage and some cool abilities to use. Frontiers begins with Na'vi children under the Ambassador program, where they will become diplomatic links between Na'vi and humans. This is a first-person action-adventure game, using a lot of the same mechanics as the Far Cry series. We play as one of the Sarentu children, whose sister is killed while trying to escape the facility. An evacuation is issued and Mercer, the director, orders the children to be disposed of. Their teacher Alma saves them by hiding them in cryo chambers, waking them up 16 years later.
Must you prod them like this? If they can walk, they can walk. The rest we have to leave.
But the RDA left, didn't they? And you left us here.
The Sky people have returned, Sarentu.
Sarentu? No one has ever called me that.
That is your clan. And a mighty one at that. We thought you were lost to this world, but this Dreamwalker thought to lock you up in a box instead.
I'll explain when we get back. But for now, you take it easy. Your body's still waking up.
Once they escape the facility, they begin working alongside the Na'vi resistance, taking down the RDA, while also learning about their past and traditions they've missed out on. Completely different approaches to the subject. One giving a player the choice of picking sides depending on their play style or opinions of the movie, and the other directly planting a player in the shoes of kidnapped Na'vi children who'll fight against the military and bring them down. I might be splitting hairs at this point, but Avatar was the only game of the two which featured avatars. So does that make Frontiers an Avatar-based game? Because of the different styles these two games have, the gameplay is very different. Avatar gives a player a third-person perspective, which gives us the ability to see our character fully, seeing their movements and combat styles, and the size difference between Na'vi and humans. This gives player a bit more of an immersion into the world, as we can see the structures built for us, our fellow Na'vi standing by our side fighting, and overall experiencing how this race has learned to live within this environment. Frontiers gives us a first-person view, which at first I thought would be really immersive, but because of the height difference, I kept banging my head on things while trying to escape the facility in the beginning. Later, everything feels scaled to our height, so it's not as jarring as the start, but I did keep forgetting to crouch in human buildings and wondering why I kept getting stuck. By using this view, however, we miss out on seeing our full character, and combat animations are pretty much limited to what our arms and hands can do. This isn't always a bad thing, as we get front row seats to exploring the world, rather than from behind a character. Avatar uses pretty standard action shooter controls, mixed with some light RPG elements and plenty of missions and challenges to complete, though we have to follow a linear skill tree with no customization. We earn experience points and level up. We have sector challenges that we can complete, like picking up certain plants or defeating animals. And if we chose the Na'vi, we have access to a single military issued gun, and plenty of Na'vi weapons, like bows and clubs. Each level is pretty linear with small opportunities to explore, but we're pretty much limited to a certain area and can only access new ones after we've finished our missions in the current place. We can drive different vehicles to get around Pandora as RDA, and as Na'vi we climb to heights way above the jungle in order to get around. Frontiers plays like a modern FPS with missions and side missions, different gear and weapons to use, though we're again limited to one rifle and several Na'vi weapons. We can craft items, upgrade weapons and gear, improve our skills and abilities however we want, within the confines of the skill tree. The entire world is ours to explore, with enemy levels being the only real restraints. We can run and jump around, find hidden treasures, or run across groups of wandering RDA to take down. We can gather resources, and depending on time of day, and whether we pick it correctly, the condition changes. We also have Na'vi senses which help us see past what's in front of us, seeing loot, animal scent trails for hunting, certain flora to research and add to our crafting guide, and highlight enemies in order to get the jump on them. It's pretty easy to say the newer game has the better graphics, but I think Avatar holds up really well. The world is vast and interesting to look at. You don't feel like you're wandering through the same area multiple times. You can take a look at the map and find hidden nooks which might contain a treasure or two, and you definitely get a sense of being up high when you climb vines or run up cliffs. The Na'vi villages don't have a massive presence in this game, and are more like small structures with platforms where we collect and deliver our missions. The animations and dialogue cutscenes are still good. The voice acting is not over the top or cheesy.
The same flower was Beidamo's first gift to me. He will not show it, but he now knows you have my blessing. Come, we must destroy Sky Tower. We find these, how you say, decay. Will you help us?
These boxes are explosives. You know, boom boom.
Yes, we have word for this. Kangangang. We will make fire out of stone.
Frontiers has a beautiful world, and you get a sense of being in the wild, away from dense civilization and just living within nature. Each biome has different flora and fauna, so if you're after a certain resource, you just go to the place where it's abundant. The way this game gives us a sense of scale is through interactions with humans, making us look down or crouch in order to see them properly. The cutscenes are of course cinematic, and move the story along without taking up too much of our time. Running around the jungle, you can see paths designed like highways, with plants dotted along them which enable a boost in speed. The Na'vi tribal areas are detailed and give a sense that they've been there for decades, covered in art and keeping traditions alive. Though they're relatively small, they pack a lot into them, and we can come across outposts scattered around the land which give us a break from exploring and a place to rest or craft. To some, Avatar is dated, and would need loads of updates in order to be fun today. I found it awesome, even with the more basic elements and straightforward gameplay. Frontiers has many mechanics from modern games, but also tries something different, like the resource gathering. This was a downside for me, however, as I prefer games where I hit a button to pick something, rather than harass a plant until it surrenders its fruit to me. Did that sound weird? Getting into Avatar was quick, and we were thrown into the world and game immediately, with missions to complete and places to travel to. Frontiers focused more on the story side of things, introducing characters and world building before we could even set foot outside. The missions in Avatar were short and sweet, usually gathering or defeating enemies, and the story was fed to us slowly, and only if it was relevant, without giving us loads of information to work off. Frontiers seemed to gush lore and story at every opportunity, really working to get a player to be invested in this world and the people. You'd be sent on a mission, which would lead into learning about our ancestors and a past we missed out on because of being kidnapped at a young age. For me, this was a little overbearing at times. Like, I appreciated the background and the character building, but it was injected into almost every part of the game. It felt like I had to care deeply about Pandora with every inch of my being in order to fully enjoy the game. Like nothing was worth doing unless you had emotionally invested in it. To fans, this makes sense, as the movies had that feel about them, but for me, I just wanted to get through the story without feeling sad about what the Na'vi had been through. I just wanted to enjoy my time in Pandora guilt-free. The little RPG elements in Avatar didn't really feel necessary, like they were a second thought, but I always like earning XP for stuff and moving towards goals or completing challenges. The sector challenges were a nice addition, and you could run around trying to 100% the area, or just move on as quickly as possible to the next one. Because Frontiers was so huge and open, it was nice to just follow missions in order to get introduced to new enemies gradually, rather than accidentally run into a pack of something with sharp teeth. The skill tree was a lot nicer in Frontiers, as you could focus on skills you wanted to have rather than just unlocking predetermined abilities in Avatar. So which did I give up on and which did I keep playing? I got bored of Frontiers. I know. What kind of gamer am I? I appreciated the moving narrative, but I couldn't sit through every cutscene having the same sense of guilt from being human. The weapons were very limited too, and I longed for a broad arsenal with different types of guns that did different things, or successfully taking down a facility without being spotted. I felt the weapons didn't allow that to happen, so I ended up in full-on fights nearly all the time. I liked the diversity of the crafting mechanics, but it started to feel like a chore after a while. Having to go certain places to get the exact resource I needed, waiting for the right time of day, then picking the fruit or plant in the right way to get a pristine one. I started ignoring gatherings, so I didn't have to go through all of that just for a new piece of gear. Avatar was simple, in both gameplay and concept. It didn't preach too much or force you to wholeheartedly get into the story whenever you spoke to an NPC. Gathering was a button press, and as disconnected as that is, I didn't feel like I had the time to stand still moving a plant around while I was getting shot at by the RDA. The small sectors were big enough to explore without feeling like I'd get lost, and just felt straightforward. The combat was point and shoot, and for some reason the rifle felt like it hit harder in this game. Both Avatar the game and Frontiers of Pandora are great movie games. They took the world and created an interactive version to explore and enjoy, with stories that you'd want to follow to see what happens in the end. The biggest differences are what makes the games unique to each other, almost making it feel like completely different genres, even though they're both action shooters. In the end, whichever game you feel you'll enjoy playing is objectively the better game, and the details don't always matter. As a retro gamer, I have a lot of forgiveness for older mechanics and janky controls, but I also love modern games with their familiarity and modern traits. Ultimately, they're both good, not only as movie tie-ins, but as standalone titles you can enjoy without already being a hardcore Avatar fan.
Someone is nearby, not around ahead.
Hello. We are friends.
Someone is nearby, not around ahead.
Hello. We are friends.
This was fun. Let's do it again sometime. And if you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like down below.